Next is from
Reggae Man, or is it?
Super Reggae Man. The subject is Mailbag. Gentlemen, what a guan. Super Reggae Man here. I noticed MJF returned as Ernie Roots and died this past week of Blood and Guts. She calls addition to his repertoire the Type A Suicida. Nothing. Anyways, I've also noticed a meteoric rise of a new tag team at SmackDown known as Pretty Deadly. Getting major Fashion Police vibes with the healthy injection of the Disco Inferno, completely with the insanely, ridiculously oversized Disco Ball. I haven't heard mention of them on the show yet. Was just wondering your thoughts. That's some SRM. I haven't mentioned them on the show. Bro, read our
mention him every week.
Every week. Suspend him. Misinformation.
You know why? Because he's probably not on the Patreon. Join Patreon.
Yeah,
we
but
talk
we do
about
a
him
SmackDown review on the show, though.
Okay.
Yeah. And YouTube and, Patreon.
Yeah, suspend him. You're right. Well, there's been a good day, like 4 suspensions. And a resuspension of Jed Frankfurter. I like that one.
Next is from Frank Ram. The subject is Larry Dallas' Snowflake. What's up, fellas? First off, let me say that Larry Dallas produced the biggest snowflake y'all have had on the show as a regular. Y'all have had your fair share of them. What's up with that rant?
That is true.
He comes across a typical leftist loser that will degrade anyone simply because they disagree on a subject. Dude needs to chill and realize that everyone sees wrestling the same way as the Meltzer echo chamber that he and so many live in. My question is about AEW continue bringing all these guys from New Japan and AAA blindly with no backstory. The latest being Kota Ibushi at Blood and Guts.
You just brought that up.
I've been following AAA since they started New Japan casually for about 8 years now, so I'm familiar with everyone, but not everyone is. Do you agree with bringing in these guys as surprises with no real explanation or backstory, or should there be some explanation to bring them there? Does it depend on the situation? I get one to have star power in every show, but if those stars aren't known for the better part of the audience, that's a problem. Thanks and God bless. And this is Frank Ram from Azusa, California, and P.S. Liberal buffoon KG. So this guy hates KG.
I love how KG still gets heat.
5 years.
Dude, you talk about we already mentioned this earlier we already mentioned this in the show earlier. But yes, that's a big problem with AEW is not people that want to watch a show and you're introducing characters, they have no clue who they are, and you don't really help them out and find out who they are.
Bro, and that's the problem because I've heard people say, well, you don't introduce people in AAA. Bro, we've got huge problems. Number one, we don't have AEW and WWE TV rights money. The money in Mexico is peanuts. Number two, for a company our size, we have 2 editors. Okay, that's it. And on top of that, and I think I've told you this once, Disco, you might have not have been listening because it was during the Lucha segment, and you tend to be watching sports while that segment is on. The network we work with, they say that they have proof that when we use in-rings or vignettes that the ratings go down, so they don't let us put in-rings and vignettes on our TV show. How ridiculous is that? Yeah.
How do they have proof of that?
They said the minute by minute, every time that a vignette or an in-ring comes out, people click off or turn the channel.
Give me 2 seconds here.
How about that?
Yeah, I believe that to be untrue.
Next is from NBA Times Base God. The subject is, hey Joe, K-Dog, and that he spells a smuck, not schmuck. Smuck Disco. We'll suspend him for a week for this. So AW Collision is coming to hometown soon in the next month or so. I plan on buying an Addicted to the Blade T-shirt and wearing it.
Okay, stop right there.
That's All right, so we're gonna suspend this guy permanently.
NBA
Base God. Yeah, permanent suspension. Next is from Mark Montanaro, and the subject is 2 questions. K100 crew, first question. With the 6th-year anniversary of Chester Bennington's passing last week, Linkin Park lead singer, there were several conspiracy theories about his death along with Chris Cornell shortly before him. Has the crew talked about this subject? No. Ben Hameen has spoken in the past about this if you're not familiar. Second question, that's a no on the first one. Second question, on the recent AEW Blood and Guts show, Matt Jackson hit his 3 Northern Lights suplexes on the top of the cage. The look of the cooperation was egregious. When Bedwell did the 3 Germans, it looked more like a struggle, and that's from Mark Montanaro. Yeah, I don't like when the Young Bucks, the three Northern Lights is fine, but sometimes he'll do the thing where he Northern Lights two guys at the same time. That is not reasonable or logical that somebody of the Young Bucks' physical stature could give a Northern Lights to two wrestlers at the same time. It's ridiculous, and they do that. I don't know. It's just silly. I don't know. Next is from Next from Ben. Somebody's collision. It's been 4 episodes and the message has been sent clear. The show is not must see. Oh, there's somebody interested. Collision's already obtained Rampage status. Look at the card from this past Saturday. My question is why? Is Tony Khan really this inept, or is what he considers must see TV? I'll tell you exactly the problem with Collision. Dynamite has gotten better each week. Okay, but for 2 to 3 weeks in a row now, the writing of the show is more consistent with the type of show that like an experienced writer. Rampage and Collision look like a guy that is spending as much time as he can trying to write a good show in Dynamite and does not have the time to write another 3 hours of television between Rampage and Collision, and it's just less content on both of those shows than Dynamite. Would you agree with that, Conan?
Yeah, plus I think he's done something very smart, which he's done in the past, but I guess it's working better before because, like I said, if you notice, and we've been saying this for 4 years and they finally did it, there's no threads on the show. But now you see Jericho and Don Callis have a thread, and that's probably because of them. They're probably writing their own. You know, you don't need to write for them. And then you got MJF, who's probably writing his own code. You don't really need to write for them. You know, and they probably should have more wrestlers, be more highly involved in their storylines, write their own, just have him edit it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Good point.
Well, despite what this gentleman says, Collision drew 618,000 on Saturday, which was the highest viewership since the first episode. So people will still tune in. And I don't see anything wrong with the card, honestly. He mocked the card there, but here's the card in full. It was Punk and Allen versus Christian and Starks, Ty versus Sky Blue, Action Andretti and Darius Martin versus Bullet Club Gold, and then Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews versus the Acclaim and Billy Gunn. Those are all names in that universe.
Yeah, the problem is that the problem I have is that they're names, but what real buildup have there been for those matches? What is the storyline they get me emotionally invested? I'm going to give you a good example that just happened in Triple Mania. So remember I told you that I thought the match that they had with Vampiro and Pagano was a bad match, Triple Mania? Maybe you don't remember.
Yes, no, I remember.
Okay. So then this week we had another show on Saturday, and I said, all right, quit trying to do wrestling moves and let's tell a story. So he told the story where there's this guy that had been attacking Pagano and had put him out of work for 4 months. He had to get a surgery. So he was out for 4 months, and this hooded character had attacked him and hit him with a pile driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then this hooded character attacked him again in another show. He thought it might be Vampiro, right? So during the Tijuana show, the guy with the hood actually showed up and revealed himself and beat up Pagano and Vampiro. So now he knows it isn't Vampiro. He actually asked Vampiro, hey, I'm sorry for doubting you. And they become a team, right? So I said, let's not wrestle. Let's tell a story. And let me just tell you the end of the story. The end of the story was Pagano being taped up to the ropes, being hit with this kendo stick, right? Vampiro trying to come to the aid of the guy, but they beat him up with the kendo stick. And the last scene that you see on TV is Pagano tied up, bent over from all the kendo stick shots, and Vampiro had been crawling to help him and kind of fainted right before he got to him. Bro, the place was going nuts. It had so much heat, you know? Bro, now they're invested. Why can't they do that with these matches?
Right.
That's my only problem. Yeah, you can put a whole bunch of names together, but where's the backstory? Where's the heat? Where's the emotional investment? That's all I think Disco's trying to say.
Yeah, and it seems
Would
like
I be correct, DI?
Yes, exactly. Next is some Ray Tiano. Somebody's buried. What's up, fellas? I've noticed for a while now how fans like to use insider terms that the boys would most likely used, such as getting over, getting heat, and what seems like the most commonly used term would be buried. With the recent LA Knight shortcomings and Wesley's championship loss at Dom, my question for you guys is: do you guys consider these scenarios as burials? Me personally, I don't. Also, please give us some true examples of guys being buried that you guys have seen personally. I think the LA Knight scenario is the WWE having their thumb on the pulse of social media, much like Cody and Sammy. They're slow burning these guys, which is most likely retaliation to past social media responses of putting guys over prematurely, only to have the fans backlash and turn on the very talents they wanted to go over. What say you guys? Thanks for the great content. Best wishes for continued success. It's a excellent point, because what does a talent no favors is getting a rocket ship to a spot that there was no real climb. You just got put in a spot and got elevated too quickly, and it didn't work.
That's what Jinder's deal was.
I'm thinking what they're looking at here is maybe LA Knight's doing good weekly TV. He's not losing anything yet. When he goes out there from the crowd, actually the responses are becoming louder every time. There's never been a time that he hasn't come on from the time before that the response hasn't been better. So they're looking at okay, we're not going to listen to the internet. We're just going to do this the way we want to do this, and it's going to work. And I'm going to trust him on this. What would you say to that, Conan?
Yeah, I would agree to that too. I think they have taken too long, and as usual, my example always been sometimes when a guy's hot and you don't strike while the iron's hot, it's hard to get the iron hot again. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, this guy is one of the most over guys in the last few years. You need to take advantage of that. And maybe it is a slow burn, but I think they are taking a little too long. And Wes, what's the guy's name? Wes what? That dumb
Wes Lee. Yeah, that's not a burial.
That's that he's changed his name so many times. Yeah, he's one of the rascals. Yeah, that's not a burial.
Bro, when a champion loses his belt, it's not a burial.
Especially to a guy that is hot as Dom.
Right. There was funny.
You didn't lose
some of these Mark podcasters, I forget which guy this was, but he was talking about how they're burying the black wrestlers again, right?
Right.
And he was talking about Carmelo Hayes losing and Wes Lee. And it was funny because I went up and looked. It's like compared to the Attitude Era or something, I don't know what the comparison was, but I looked up. Bro, Wes Lee or Carmelo Hayes, okay, has won, and I did the when I looked at the stats, he's won 75% of his matches in NXT. Okay, The Rock, because they've compared it like The Rock. The Rock won 54% of his matches when he was in WWE.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to lose. Yeah,
what if bro, when the Mark fans try to get into conversations, they just really sound like they don't know what they're talking about, So
yeah,